And the people came to Arcana in the 70s in part to get over the 60s. You know? I mean, there was a lot of recovery going on. There was a lot of damage, and in a sense, I mean, it seems like, as reviewing John's work and going over it again and just looking at our history, it feels like we're starting in the basement and coming up. And he worked on his act here for 10 years and got himself, you know, out of the basement and went out into the world with it. And, you know, I think probably it might have amazed him as much as it amazed all of us. You know? It was a great, so this is a kind of upward journey here. This is like another Dante wrote a poem about that. This is John Ross's Divine Comedy. So I mean, I say that because my first poem, this is from Jam. This is guy, he's in his mid-30s, right? Come and munch me, Mr. Universe, you cloudless blue con man, you. Put a $20 goldfish on each eyelid, a canary in my coffin, and carry me to the boneyard with a bounce. Bebop Funeral. Next up, Janine Volkmar, To Nowhere.
We were talking about that newspaper in which the city beneath Arcata was published. We couldn't remember the name of it. It was probably the Constitution, or it might have been the Humboldt Independent. It was a little street sheet. And they had a special issue of erotic writing and asked a lot of people to write for it. But at that point I was teaching at Humboldt State, and so I was a little nervous about publishing what I published, so I published it under a pseudonym. My middle initial is Standish. My middle name is Standish, so my initials are JS. So I published a very erotic piece under the name Jessie Sierra. And I got a note from John in the mail. It said, if you're Jessie Sierra, that piece is really good. Thanks a lot. Busted really fast. Jerry let us pick, and I picked one of my very favorite John Ross poems. It's a poem I always think of whenever I have a hangover. And the title is To Nowhere, but it's because of the first line. There is a little epigraph. For 3 years now, the door has been closed. I have gone nowhere and come back from nowhere. Su Chi, the early Tang dynasty, from a poem on the cultivation of the medicinal poppy. To nowhere. My head feels like a hanger from an abandoned Air Force base. My head feels like a hangar at some abandoned Air Force base. My arms look like 2 runways left over from some foreign war. Weeds break through the pitted scar tissue, and there ain't no heroes getting off from here no more. All the bombardiers are winging their way on home. My body's missing in action, haunted everywhere, with the tracks of 1,000 flights to nowhere.
So wrote about common things also. Sidney's $20. Season's greetings wag the limp semaphore strung between encrusted lampposts. The truncated blizzards on the CB's threatening roadblocks. The night we blew in Toledo, Ohio, home of an important Wonder Bread factory. 6 inches of granulated sugar already caking the polyethylene fur shoulders of the only hooker standing sentry outside the Big Dog terminal. Straddling the drifts like damn poodles in half-hearted heat, the dollops of white bread tumbling all about us, and the pale lamplight illuminating her disgust. Then I surrendered the wilted joint upon which I puffed, and suddenly the razor blades which structured her cheeks were swiping at the weather, a gorgeous storm of fury. Season's greetings, she crackled, returning their curse in a blaze which twisted with scorched lips. After words, sphincters flexed, The room was swollen with her underarms, and deep beneath her dropsy thighs, I swooned and capsized, and overwhelmed by the season's steaming musk, blew Sidney's 20 bucks.
Although your fingers live in the next country from here, across a well-illuminated border, on the other side of a jagged steel wall, sometimes I feel their tips punching keys that unlock my secret chest of tears. Despite the distances and the barbed wire, the deserts where the indocumentados are dropping like flies, I suck upon the bones of your long, thrifty fingers each night as you slip across borders into the valleys of my own stubby hands without friction.
I wanted to end our family and friends reading session here, but this piece, Affirmation, I figured maybe we might all be in tears by now, but I don't think so.
No,
It's great to hear John's poems coming through the voices of all his friends. Yes, and I say yes. Yes in light, and yes in peace. Yes it was, and yes it is. Yes with drums, yes with gongs, yes with flutes, with air, yes. Yes the celestial, yes the master, yes the word. The midnight, yes. The lugubrious, yes. The low down, yes. The yes meaning no. The elemental, yes. The eternal, yo. The wow. The yow. The you. The me. The we. The see. The ya. The yup. Yes, and I say yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And now I believe Donald Forrest is going to read, we have a series of 5 poems accompanied by Square Peg. There's Greg Moore and Tina Garson and Jill Patrica.